Hello folks and welcome. Today I'm going to talk about automatic wallpaper changers or background changers. The background will be changing every 10 seconds until I actually either pause it or change it. And some of those images will be random off the internet also, mixed in with my own photos. And this will just keep going forever until I either pause it or change the time frame on it. So automatic wallpaper changers is what I'm going to talk about today. I'll also talk about the built-in slideshow viewer that you can activate for backgrounds for Linux Mint. That one can only do one folder at a time, and its bare minimum interval is 1 minute. And from 1 minute you can choose 2 or 3 or 4. This will do seconds, and this application I've shown before. But since I am getting subscribers almost on a daily basis now, I'm going to rehash this. And this application is called Variety. Variety is the spice of life. That's how you can remember that one. I am filming in 1080, folks. So that part becomes interesting to understand when I'm talking about this piece of software. So this is Cinnamon, but it's 21.3. You can also use LMDE6 or Linux Mint 22 and also other Linux desktops. There's some slight differences in some of the fancy features, and I will discuss the tips and tricks regarding that piece of software called Variety and also your built-in slideshow tool. So plan accordingly. Subscribe. This is a watermark. That is a desklet. These will be here the whole time during the video. However, you see this photo of this person? You should find a smaller icon down here with yellow brackets if you like to subscribe to Linux for Seniors. That's the name of my channel. Linux is for any age, and I make mention of that in my about statement, my mission statement on my channel. I got roughly 500 videos, a little shy of that, but almost 500 videos on all kinds of subjects, from beginner subjects on Linux all the way to advanced. Let me pause this. This is running really hard. So I will do that, and let's talk about the user for today. Our user is Mary. It's just a made-up name, obviously. So pictures. Let's talk about some of the ways you can bring your own pictures in. A lot of people are using digital phones nowadays, or I should say smartphones, Android or iPhones. I have a tool for you and a video if you like. If you want to use those Android and iPhones to bring in pictures into Linux Mint just using your iPhone and connecting into the machine. That is called KDE Connect, and I have plenty of videos on my YouTube site to show you how to do that if you hit subscribe and do a search. So I've collected some pictures and wallpapers. Now if you're familiar with this file manager called Nemo, you can click that and hit the spacebar to get a preview. That is Crater Lake, USA in Oregon. I took that photo. When did I take that photo? In 2021 with a Sony camera. So this is Gullfoss. That's how you pronounce that in Icelandic, because that's my birthplace. Translates into Golden Falls. If you're into that kind of stuff like nature, we can set that also as right-click as wallpaper. Okay? So I have this thing paused, and I'm going to show you lots of magic we can do with this. It says resume. That means this is paused. So we're going to first talk about your standard built-in stuff, and then we can install this. Your built-in stuff that I'm referring to is right-click, change desktop background. Another name for that is wallpaper. So if you are missing your pictures folder, which I'm going to remove, we can hit the plus key. So here's Mary's main folder. We can either click that or click that. It doesn't matter. But bring in the whole folder. And then you can see the folder, the pictures in her folder. So I'm filming in 1080 today. Why does that have a bearing on some of the things? And you're probably wondering why I keep saying this kind of stuff. Well, sometimes I can be in 4K mode, but I'm in 1080. So that picture is in 1080. but this picture is not. That's in 1024 by 720, which makes it smaller than that image. Why would that be important with my screen resolution? Because your screen is going to handle these pictures slightly differently. So we can see the butterfly here. What happens when I change the zoom factor to scaled? Well, we got black bars now. And also centered. Things looking a little differently, aren't they? Yes. We have also stretched, which looks a little bit different than zoom. All of this will have a bearing also on this application that I'm going to discuss in a couple of minutes called Variety. Variety is the spice of life. That's how you can remember that app. So whenever we're dealing with making our default wallpaper or background, it all depends on the size of the frame and where this is set for. We can also think about using our own folders or the standard ones. Keep in mind, this is the Linux Mint logo. None of these are going to ever change. Again, this is a watermark, and that's a desklet. And if you're curious, it's called Calendar Desklet. You can get it from download, and you can configure it. All right. So we can pick pictures in here. So if I turn the slideshow on, if I have this installed, please make sure that you pause this. I will be saying this a couple of times. You turn that off. You don't have to uninstall Variety. But this is now running a slideshow every 1 minute on those images. I can't go any lower than that. It doesn't do seconds like Variety. But it's going to be using all the images that are currently in here. And depending on where this setting is set, so if it is play images in random order off, then it will be doing this image, then it'll go to that one and that one and that one. If you decide to turn this back on and off and go random, I'll have to cycle it again, then it'll be random images. It won't be the first one. This one is currently the last one actually. And I don't know what the next image will be when it's in this mode. And that can be fun sometimes when you're doing your own personal pictures. Okay, it's currently working on this image. It looks like 20 JPEG. And I don't know where it's going to go from here. But I'm doing one folder at a time. And these are grayed out. I can't click on them until I turn this off. Then they'll turn bright color. Then I can click on them manually. Hopefully that was clear. So you have play backgrounds as a slideshow. You can choose 1 minute or more. So that would be 2 minutes and you get the idea. But I can't go below 1. You can play the images in random order or not. When it's off, it's not. And the picture aspect works not only here, but also with the other application. What is background color anyways? Well, that would have a reference if you're doing scaled images. You don't like the color, then what you can do is change that to a different color. I'll use yellow. Then you get yellow borders, and you can mix and match them too with gradients. Not a big deal. Default black. Okay, so I'm going to put that back to zoom so we don't see the bars. But we lose part of the picture also, depending on your screen res. Remember, it's all about how big these things are and what your monitor is set for. All right, now with that said, I'm going to turn this off. And let's talk about this piece of software called Variety. Again, how you can remember this easily is Variety is the spice of life. If I can highlight that properly. And this is that version there. And that's the developer there, Peter. So, where can you find it? Well, generally you open up your software manager. I have a shortcut of it downstairs. So open up your software manager on either the Linux Mint 21 or 22 or LMDE6, it doesn't matter, and type in Variety. This is also available for other Linux distros with slightly different twists as far as some of the fancy settings, and I'll discuss that in a minute. So Variety, Wallpaper Changer, and Linux Mint calls this background, change backgrounds. Same thing. Install that. It's very small. open up your Mint menu, type in Variety, and launch it. It's going to ask you a question. Do you want it in your panel bar? Answer yes. And do you want it to start up when you start your computer? That's your choice. Okay. So after you start that up, it's going to give you this kind of an icon for a default. However, you're not stuck with it. If you go to customize, you can change that to a darker icon. I don't particularly care for that. It kind of blends in with my panel. If the panel bar is black, especially, mine is semi-see-through. I'll return this back to normal. I'll turn this off. And now you can see the blend in here. So basically, I have light as my default. You have the dark. You also have these number 1 through 4, which is kind of an oddball, but it's still there. So again, just be aware of that. You can also, again, put it here, start that when it starts, and it'll put something in your startup folder. So what I'm going to do is open up your startup folder for a second and let you see this. There'll be an entry in here. I don't recall if it had a delay. If it does, you can also alter the startup delay if you like. Variety Wallpaper Changer. Okay. So I have mine running, starting when the computer starts. Now, the next item is I really don't use the effects and manual downloading and all that good stuff. So I just generally use the General tab, and that's good enough for most people. So the interval is currently at 10 seconds. What's the bare minimum? 5. And it'll work your graphics card pretty hard doing this, because I have all these enabled. And you can have things enabled and disabled. Let me change that to a more reasonable time frame, maybe 10, 15 seconds, or maybe 10 minutes, or maybe 10 hours. 10 days would be kind of ridiculous, but anyways, you can. All right, so I will click that. Now it's paused. What's another way to pause this? Another way to pause this, if you click that, click the image, and there'll be resume and also pause on current. Okay, what is this thing? Oh, that's the backgrounds. So one more reminder, actually I'll be doing this many times today. Do not have this slideshow running for your automatic tool that's built into Mint at the same time you're running that. You pause this one and run that one, or you pause that one and run this one, but not both at the same time. You'll have undesired results. So let me go back to here. Again, that's the timer, and we're currently paused, and I know that because it's not checked. The other way I know it is if I click that and look at the image and it says resume, that means it's in pause state. You can also manually change the image by hitting next, next, or previous, previous. In the Cinnamon desktops, you can use your mouse. I'm using a Tower Computer wireless keyboard and mouse. My mouse also has a scroll wheel on it. So I'm pointing at the icon and I'm going to scroll up with my computer mouse to change the images. If that part does not work on you, then you can use click, next, and previous. On some Linux distributions with Variety installed, you have to click those, because the rolling of your mouse over this does not work in all Linux distros. FYI. I turned my panel bar to standard. So if you don't mind, I am going to return my extension back on so it's semi-see-through. Okay, to go back to where I was. So off, on. You can always manually change the image. So it will hold this image until I change it. Change wallpaper on start. That's up to you when you log in other words. Now, there's favorites, fetched folder, US, or share backgrounds, and then we can talk about internet stuff. Normally when it's collecting images, you want those on, and then you can choose if you want stuff from Flickr, for instance. As soon as you install this thing, it starts collecting images, so you may only have 1 or 2 pictures when you first look at this. And you come back an hour later, you'll have more. Okay, it'll fetch those. These are coming off where? NASA. These are coming off Bing. Again, you end up with first 2 or 3 images, then it keeps building the library. And this is coming from Google Earth, and this was Unsplash. Okay, so there's a couple of previews here. Generally, you do not have this folder, so I will remove it on purpose. So if Mary, our user for today, wants to add her pictures folder, this folder here, with whatever she has in it, you can add the complete folder by hitting add to the mix. I normally don't do individual images, I do complete folders. So you can have this search through 10,000 images and they'll be showed in random order. So click that and pick your folder, okay, and hit add. You can also click that and hit add. So it puts the home Mary's Pictures complete folder in here. And down here is what I call a previewer of what's in that folder. I can also click on these images and you can probably see that that picture is upside down. So what I'm going to do is minimize this. This will self-correct itself. Okay, that was a roof line that was upside down and now it's right side up. Painter hat guy. And what am I doing here? I'm taking my computer mouse and I'm right about where my time and date is, and it starts increasing when I start moving my mouse to the right. I also have a scroll bar here. Okay, it's kind of half invisible when I do this. It's kind of an interesting effect. Depending on your monitor, you may see differences, but anyways. So I can also manually click these. Keep in mind, I'm in pause state. Keep in mind, that's off. But I'm just looking at my folder right now. This is coming from Mary's Pictures folder. So here's the butterfly, Crater Lake, some other nature stuff, and I'm going to close. This will stay here until I either do this, or as in this case on this desktop, I've been pointing at it with my mouse, scroll up, scroll back, scroll up, scroll again to a different image, and so forth and so on. All right, so I brought Mary's Pictures folder into the mix. Now you have enabled things. Let's say you can see that I turned off Google Earth view wallpapers. So if you are looking at Bing, for instance, you can also take a look at some of those wallpapers you're collecting. And here's a cute feature for you. If you click that, view at Bing, it'll show you information about the picture on some of these websites. Same thing with NASA. I will click to see what that is. It's a cool looking thing. Let's find out where this is from. And that was taken in 22, and etc. It's coming from apod, nasa.gov. All right, so here's Flickr. I don't know what kind of information they'll give me here, but let's find out. So view at Flickr. I believe that's the developer of this software. Anywho's, close. So we can turn these things off if you don't want them. All right. If you just want to use your home folder, your home folder, pictures folder, you can turn all of these off. Okay. And in some cases, you may want to just log out and log back in because I think it's still holding some pictures in the buffer. So even if I close this right now, if I scroll over this, I think it may still pull pictures. Yes, that's coming from the internet. So if I really wanted to do that only, I would use the log out and log in. So going back into here, generally, most people probably will have these on. And you're going to be running this every seconds or minutes, whatever your choice is. And I'll leave mine for 10 seconds so I can change this more often. from all these different sources, so it will be in random order. And these sometimes is fun when you're working in a minimum environment. Not full screen, you're not going to see those, but let's say you're working in this kind of environment, you're, I don't know, shopping on Amazon or doing whatever, you'll see the wallpaper change, and if you're curious about that picture, oh, that one's coming from NASA. And the next picture there is also coming from NASA. However, it's going to change in a second. Anyways, you got to be quick on the draw if you're using only a couple seconds. But you can see this is a fairly versatile tool. I got it 10 seconds. I'll give myself some more time. 15 seconds maybe, or even minutes. Okay, I can still click that though to see where that photo came from if it was the internet. Okay, you get the idea. All right, I just opened up a different tab. And this could be fun, maybe even with your own pictures. I'm at 21 minutes. So let me do a recap here. Again, if your mouse scroll feature doesn't work, or maybe your touchpad is a little cumbersome, because I don't really use touchpads, you can click next or previous. If the photo came off the internet, you can find out by viewing it there. You can also pause the image, like right now is paused. It'll stay here until I unpause that. And so I generally don't use these, but the preferences box I do use. And again, you can change the time frame when you reactivate. And one more recap on this, I don't suggest having this running and this slideshow running that's built into Linux Mint at the same time. It's one or the other. You don't have to uninstall the software. If you want to use the built-in slideshow, then just make sure that's paused and it shouldn't give you a problem. Now this will be using the slideshow from that whatever folder you got selected here. Okay. Again, the bare minimum on this one is 1 minute and only one folder, no internet. Okay. So if you wanted to just manually change that back again, point out this, take your mouse and scroll. I'm just scrolling through various images. And once I get one that I like, I leave it there. Again, this is still in pause state until I turn the timer back on. Thank you for watching.